we're going to do today is we're going to start painting on a small canvas board. This is an 8x10 flat canvas panel. It's got canvas on the front, and it's just really a piece of finished cardboard, sturdy. And these are best when they are framed when finished. What I'm going to do is we're going to create something like a thick impasto. I just did this one. And you can see the thickness of the paint. I used a little of silver metallic and white on this one. I'm just going to let it dry. I really like doing these types of paintings. They're very, I don't know, they're just fun for me. So I thought I'd do a quick tutorial and show you how I'm going to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a couple of different shades of gold. This is a soft body acrylic. You can do a thicker, heavier body acrylic for these too. Would work really fantastically because you really want to build up that texture with your paint. And you can also mix some modeling paste in with this. That would be fantastic as well to really build up that underbody of thickness. But see, I'm laying quite a bit on my canvas here. This one's not coming out as easily. As you know, they kind of dry up after a while and it's hard to get them out. I generally then just cut right here and kind of scoop it all out and save anything that's left over. I just put this in a plastic bag, and that will keep surprisingly for a long time. So if you ever run into that issue. But what I'm doing is I'm going to just lay this with a flat knife technique. I'm using a small palette knife that I have. If you're doing a larger painting, of course you're going to want to use a very large spatula unless you want very small detail. But I kind of just lay it, and if you can see, I'm kind of stair-stepping it down this way, and that way you get that sort of cascading look like that. And I'm really going to put a lot of paint on here. I'm going to let it dry, and I'm going to do a little different color on the top of it for the next section. So you can play with this. It's like, again, it's kind of like frosting. I really, you know, I like frosting and cake baking and all that sort of thing. So sometimes it's fun to do this and not have any calories, nothing around to worry about to eat, but still get that same effect. And you can move this around as much as you want to. You can add more colors if you like. I'm doing a very minimalistic, monochromatic type of painting. I find that works really well with modern pieces. You know, but you can, as I'm sure you've seen, impastos can be applied to an otherwise flat painting to give it a little texture and a little interest on the surface without applying an underneath texture. And so I'm going to try to get this one out of here again. I'm just going to do what I told you about. Grab my scissors. I'm just going to cut the very end here. And then I just scoop it out. This is fantastic, obviously, for an impasto painting. And I like to use, instead of just one tone, these are very, very similar, but I'm using two different tones of gold because in the end, when they dry, they will be slightly different, and you're going to get a little bit different tonality here. And also, what would be really nice is to add a little bronze on here if you wanted to enrich it a bit. But I think I'm just gonna use the gold on this, try to finish the edges, and do a little different stroke here and there with my paint. So this is kind of where I'm at now. I'm gonna go through and maybe lay a little bit up here, but I'm generally doing sort of a two-tone painting with this. So we'll come back and we will finish this in the next section. Okay, and just a quick update here. What I did is I took the painting itself, it was like this, and I laid down all the texture, and then I turned it upside down, and I brought some of that very thick texture down in sort of a cascading pattern with my palette knife. So I really still have a lot of the thick texture at the top, and this is sort of my cascade pattern that I'm going to go over with a different color when we come back. So I just wanted you to see that's sort of where we left it, and I need to let this dry really well, at least 24 hours I would recommend, and really let that paint set on there. So then when you apply surface paint or any glosses, glaze, anything like that, it won't interfere with it. Okay, hello, welcome, we're back, and what we're doing is working on our gold textured painting. I've let this dry really thoroughly. So now what I'm going to do is I've taken a little bronze paint on a flat brush, a little satin glaze. Right here, you can use gloss or satin. I'm using the satin. I'm going to mix these two together because I want just a real light sort of wash of bronze. I am going to go over this with a little bit of bronze because the gold is just, it's a little too gold. I want a little different metallic on here. And I'm going to add some water, both a mist on my painting and on the palette, aka cheap dollar store paper plate that I use as my palette. And I'm going to go ahead and just, you always want to mist your painting just a little bit when it's fully dry. That's a key. Don't mist a wet painting. You'll be very sorry. It'll leave drops that eat into the paint. This is fully dry. I've let it dry a couple of days so I can go ahead and mist it. And the reason you mist is so your paint doesn't grab in any certain area. You have a very nice sort of just a little bit of wetness, kind of, so the paint can move around. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start laying this down a little bit, just to kind of see where I want. I've got maybe a little too much water in here, but that's okay because we can wipe it off and add more. And I'm just going to do this. I'm definitely going to be doing some wiping off on this. Take a paper towel, kind of blot it, just to kind of give me an idea of what I want. I like some of this I want gone. And this is going to mute down that gold just a little bit, but not too much, because we definitely like the gold metallic, the shine and the brightness. This is going to create a richness that just simple gold is not going to have. It's kind of one note. This is going to help us create just a little richness, add a little gloss with that satin glaze. I'm going to go over it this way. I'm going to turn it upside down. A little more paint here to create just a little more richness. I'm going to scrum it a little bit, so just to pick up on the top of that texture. This is going to give me a little more of a multicolor effect than just the simple gold. It's a little darker over here, and I like that. I'm going to go ahead and what I'm going to do, I'm going to take just, you know, highly technical here with watered up paper towel, but that's sometimes how you get your best look. You can use a sponge as well. And honestly, if I was doing this on a larger canvas, I would have put down a little more base of color and sort of built up from beneath the gold. I wouldn't have just put gold on the white. I would have probably put down a little bronze. So underneath you'd have a little bit of darkness and depth showing through, then the gold on top, and then a little more bronze. But this is sort of an experimentation and a quick painting, if you will, meaning it's not going to take me weeks and weeks to complete like it does my larger canvases. Those I definitely, you know, I take weeks to get those done. But doing something like this, especially if you are experimenting, you don't have to worry about that. But you do see where if you built up the base of color from underneath, it would add another depth, another layer of tone and more depth to the canvas. So you can see right here, hopefully, that you've got the gold, you've got the bronze on top, and we're definitely picking up some of that on top of our texture here, which is nice and unique. So what I'm going to do, because I want some depth up in here, is I'm going to put some of this bronze in this area I left white. And there's a reason that I did that. I want it to have more of the actual bronze tone up here than have the gold tone. Just painting that down, sort of a pull down technique. I don't know if it has a technical term, but like that. And that is going to give me that sort of, you know, cascading effect that I really want with this painting. Actually, this is the top of the painting up here, and this is going to be the bottom of the painting. So that's why I'm cascading it down like this. And I want a little more depth in certain areas, like that. So now what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this right while the bronze is wet. I don't always advocate for adding color on top of color when it's wet, unless you're doing a real sort of washy, blended look. And I'm going to do this right on top. I'm just going to add some white right from the tube, right onto my palette here, just in the corner. Pick some of that up with a little on my brush. My brush still has the bronze on it. Mix a little bit, not too much. I just want a little bit of something else besides white in there, a little depth. I'm going to just take that and I'm going to bring it down right on top of my color, and that's going to sort of grab some of that bronze, but it's also going to add, you know, that base of white. And to do something a little bit different, kind of move your brush on this, put it on the side, you can kind of scrum it down, and that gives a real sort of interesting, sort of, it reminds me of a snow is falling effect versus just the cascade. Pick up a little more white. I'm going to bring that down. And I'm going to do a little bit different brush stroke here than just the simple cascade. And I'm going to sort of put my brush on a side angle, bring that down, do some cross hatching in here. And this is, you know, completely and utterly up to you what you want to do. But this is what I'm doing, just to create a little different look up here than just the cascaded white. I'm going to bring that down like this, covering a significant portion of the top. Adding a little more white here and there, picking it up. You know, just kind of bits and pieces here of the impasto, which is going to, I'm just going to leave that because I like that impasto effect. Add a little more on the side. I think I'm going to get just a little whiter over here. Maybe bring that down a little more on top of the texture down in here, as you can see. And that's going to give me that sort of look that I'm going for. So I'm going to finesse this a bit, and then I will come back and show you the final painting, which I'm going to put a nice glaze on top of. and then it will be ready to slip into a frame and display.